Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. We're on Warrior's Path today, top tier in the Pan-Asian Tier 5 cruiser, Huanghe. I'm probably totally pronouncing that wrong. To anyone who's from China or of Chinese descent or Taiwan or of Taiwanese descent or of any descent that could be offended, I sincerely apologize. All right, Huanghe is a Royal Navy destroyer that got transferred to the Republic of China. We will discuss the history later on in the video. It is kind of a wonky little ship. As you can see, we got a couple of sonars there and a couple of creeping smoke screens. Now, it's not exhaust smoke, but it's not a regular smoke screen. So if you go maybe half speed or a quarter speed, it follows kind of the rear of your ship. So we'll see some ways to utilize that here in the match today. On Warrior's Path, top tier. But the Huanghe is also kind of a bully when it's top tier. I think that these guns hit pretty good for cruiser guns. Now you're not going to be taking out battleships or anything with them. But you can punish some lower tier cruisers, so we're going to try to do that. And we also got some torpedoes on board, so we will try to put those to use as well. Just heading out here towards, is that Charlie? Bravo. I never understand the numbering of some of these cap circles. They don't make any sense. All right, we're heading towards Bravo. I would have thought it would have been Charlie. All right, enemy destroyers are popping up. That's the big thing in cruisers. And especially a cruiser like this, you want to dominate and take out those destroyers ASAP. You've got that sonar to give you a little bit of an early warning system. Here you can see the Mahan went into the cap and smoked up. There's the enemy Mahan, and I don't even have high explosive loaded. You can see the Huanghe has deep water torpedoes, so do not try to shoot them at a destroyer. They will not do anything except sail harmlessly past. So we're going to cut back here to port, hard a port as they say in the seafaring days or whatever. Anyway, we're going to go back into the cap circle. The Mahan blew his load and totally whiffed the enemy Mahan. But smartly, he ran into the island, it looks like. So all these torpedoes are probably going to miss from our friendly Mahan. Be that as it may. So we're just going to hide out in the smoke screen and hope that he trundles out. And there's also a Farragut in the cap. Two of the enemy destroyers came into the cap. Now all they have to do is come out here. So we hit our sonar. Unfortunately, it is not long enough to see them, except for maybe the Farragut a little bit. We were checking out the Chung King out of early access, the Tier 4 Pan-Asian cruiser. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Lighting up the Farragut with his high explosive. He is taking damage, and we are chunking him for damage. We set him on fire, and there's a kill pinch out there. I mean, we did do a fair amount of damage to him, so it wasn't really a kill pinch. Kill number one. All right, Chung King coming into the cap. We're going to send our deep water torpedoes his way. If you are not familiar with deep water torpedoes, they cannot engage destroyers. They have super stealth, and they are lots of fun to hit cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers with. The Chung King changed direction, and he is not going to be threatened by our torpedoes in any way, shape, or form. All right, there he is. He is turning back. We're going to switch to armor piercing and try to get some shots out on his broadside. Didn't do a whole lot of damage there, so we're going to start to move forward here. Very ponderously slow getting in and out of the brakes here with the Huanghe. Slow. All right, so we're slowly getting started. Good grief. It is so slow. Just watching this in replay makes you think about putting in the propulsion mod. Good grief, that's slow. All right, got a battleship and another full health cruiser over there. Maybe a German cruiser. A couple of ships take each other out. The Mahans took each other out, looks like. So we're going to try. It's Bayern. And I want to say I think it's another German cruiser over there as well. All right, so one of the things you can do here in the Huanghe is hide in your smoke and farm damage. Why? Because the new Pan-Asian Commander specifically has a base trait that lets you take less incoming damage under these circumstances. So we put up our creeping smokescreen, and we light up the Bayern, who keeps shooting. And we largely escape damage there, which is good. Chungking hits us for a nice salvo, but the Chungking is backed into a problem. And we're going to get him with 2 torpedoes, although only 1 counted. And that is our second kill in the Huanghe. Just try to gauge the Bayern's movement here. As you can see, we're moving back and forth slightly in our smokescreen, going to quarter throttle and then full reverse. And by doing so, we create the smokescreen around our ship, so we never move out of it. But this is more intended for you to go like quarter throttle, half throttle, kind of use it to shield your movement away. I like using it in this back and forth kind of stationary way to farm damage, like you do with a lot of English cruisers. So we're going to continue to shoot high explosive at the Bayern. I think we set him on fire at some point because we are ticking damage. And every other ship we saw over here is pretty much dead. So we're just continuing to shoot at the Bayern, moving back and forth a little, keeping the smoke up for as long as we can, because it doesn't last long once the smoke screen stops. All right, so we're going to move out of the cap. We are spotted by a destroyer, I believe, off to my port side. Although I cannot see him, we're going to shoot at the Bayern. We take a big chunk of damage from off-screen there. I don't think it was the Devonshire. I think it was a battleship. So we're going to put that stern towards, probably the Cavour, put the stern towards the Bayern and try to move out a little bit, taking more chunk damage here. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not a very good cruiser player, and that's pretty evident here. Trying to just run away from the damage. But that creeping smoke screen would have come in handy right about now. All right, Minakaze popped up on the screen. That is the only red team destroyer left. As you can see, we still have 1 ship aiming at us, maybe the Bayern. We've stopped taking damage. Obviously, we can't engage the Minakaze with torpedoes. Please pay attention to this, folks. I see so many people shooting deep water torpedoes at me when I'm in a destroyer. You cannot hit a destroyer with deep water torpedoes. Don't try. Please don't try. All right, coming around the corner, here's the Devonshire. But here is a Nuremberg that I last saw over by the Charlie Cap. We're going to torpedo him. And then we're going to turn to kind of minimize what we're putting on him. And we take him out. Devastating strike, kill number 3. And we're also going to shoot these guns at the Minakaze. And I don't think I can escape these torpedoes, folks. But we light the Minakaze on fire as we are dying. Alright, so it's going to tick away here. But you can see we have a fire that cannot be stopped on the Minakaze. Now our team was getting beat up pretty badly. Obviously, we are not going to win this game. But it is a 4-kill game. There it is. It's just a flesh wound. Kill number 4 in the Huanghe. So if you like Royal Navy cruisers and you want one that's a little bit different going for you out there in the Pan-Asian ships, I recommend the Huanghe. It's kind of a weird little ship. I think my man Metajerk had a really nice game in it, so I recommend you checking that out. Now let's go on to the most interesting part of the ship, and that is the history. I'm quoting from Wikipedia. All right. HMS Aurora was an Arethusa-class light cruiser of the Royal Navy. Built in 1935, commissioned in 1937. Blah, 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 engaged in the hunt for Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. Hunted the battleship Bismarck. as well. Blah, blah, blah. Did some other stuff. I mean, definitely a participant in the war. Participated in a battle, uh, the destruction of the Beta convoy, where Italian destroyer was sunk, as well as some German transports, some Italian transports, and some other Italian destroyers were damaged. Anyway, when the war was over, she was sold to the Chinese Navy as compensation for some ships the British seized in Hong Kong and lost during the war. And guess what this ship was renamed? The Chung King. So the history of this ship is really the history of the Chung King. By the way, I know I've been talking about doing a destroyer guide, but we are going to have the early access Chung King video tomorrow. All right, anyway, this ship was sunk by nationalist aircraft in 1949, salvaged with Soviet assistance, but stripped bare as repayment. The empty hulk spent the rest of her life as an accommodation and warehouse ship, subsequently being renamed Huanghe, which means Yellow River, in 1959. So the Huanghe that we're talking about here on the screen, in my belief, never existed as the configuration you're seeing here on the screen. It was an empty hulk used as like an accommodation ship. It's like, hey, loser, go hang out in the Huanghe, or go get those boots out of the Huanghe. It wasn't even this ship. That was the Chung King. So, again, I'm just mind blown at how Wargaming decided to name a ship after this. If this is accurate, what I'm reading, then this ship, the Huanghe, was a warehouse ship and an accommodation ship. Didn't have engines, didn't have any armament. So why they would name a ship this really just blows my mind. But a ship with an actual name, the Fan Yang, they renamed that Northern Dragon. If this makes sense to you, you let me know. None of it makes sense. It's wargaming. All right, anyway, I don't know where we're at in the recording, but we're going to skip ahead to the end of the match. All right, and I skipped ahead to the end. Here we are on the defeat screen. Devastating strike medal. It's just a flesh wound medal. Just 57,925 total damage. Got some main battery hits, some torpedo strikes, 4 big kills, and a solo base cap in the Huanghe. Ended up with just short of 345,000 silver and 3249 ship XP and commander XP in the loss. So I think it's a good cruiser. I mean, I don't really play a lot of cruisers, but I like it. I definitely think there's a lot more potential there for a really skilled cruiser player. I don't know. I consider 4 kills a pretty good game in any ship. But for me, I think, this is a ship I'll take out if I want to have fun or whatever. But I can't give you an idea of how relatively strong it is because I'm not very good at cruisers. All right, there we are at the top of the scoreboard for our team. 1666 base XP, 2 medals, 4 big kills in the loss. I wish our team would have played better, especially when I look at the other team and see the Nuremberg was an Ofer. I mean, we killed him. He was on the map. Oh, we killed the other Nuremberg, maybe. Anyway, they had a ship that didn't do anything by all appearances. So it's embarrassing that we lost that, but we did. All right, here we are in the port. The upgrades, we're using main battery mod 2, and we are using steering gears mod 2. Gotta say, I like the appearance of these icons. In terms of the loadout, 2 charges of that short range sonar. You could use a torpedo reload booster, but I don't recommend it. DFA also don't recommend that. This torpedo reload booster does interact with a unique commander skill, but I think sonar is the most valuable. Your mileage may vary on that decision. And then the creeping smoke screen, which you saw, the duration of it is over 90 seconds, but it disperses in just 10 seconds. So keep that in mind when you utilize that consumable. All right, we got the common battle boost for speed right there, the Type 9 permanent camouflage, And of course, the silver flag. When you can't be number one, what's wrong with being number two? Except in the bathroom. All right, 24,100 hit points and a 7% torpedo damage reduction with our build. All about the guns. 3x2 152 millimeter turrets, 14.3 kilometer firing range, 6.7 second reload, 18-second turn time. HE shells 2200 max damage with a 12% fire chance. Armor piercing shells 3300 max damage. You got 4 twin 100 millimeter secondaries, firing range 5 kilometers, reload every 4 seconds. Those do 1400 HE shell max damage with a 6% fire chance. Another reason why I didn't use the torpedo reload booster, they're not as strong as the guns. All right, here's those torpedoes, 2x3 deep water torpedoes. Reload in just under 80 seconds. Max damage, 15,000 on the nose. 8.7 kilometer range at 60 knots. The detectability is 900 meters. All right, and real quick, yes, those are deep water torpedoes, folks. That's why they're so stealthy. But it says right there, cannot hit destroyers. All right, moving on to the AA defense. Your secondaries are dual purpose and do count as AA. As you can see, I think that's relatively good. Max speed, 34 knots, 570 meter turning circle, 5.3 second rudder shift time. And concealment, 9.8 on the surface, 6.4 from the air, 5.6 when firing in smoke. Taking a look at the armor viewer. Well, your turrets are more heavily armored, and it's called the auxiliary room is more heavily armored. We'll take this stuff off. So if you are trying to kill the Huanghe, aim around those 2 smokestacks and you should hit the Citadel. That's not really any different than anything else, I guess, in terms of the armor. All right. Sorry, I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. So we're going to put the armor back on. Anyway, that is the armor profile of the Huanghe. Here's the new commander, Chen Shaoquan. His base trait, guerrilla warfare, reduces damage that you take from shells, torpedoes, and bombs to your cruiser inside a smokescreen. Maybe a good inspiration for some English cruisers. We got Mikawa and Swirsky doing a double concealment there. Ingenious in row number 1. The unique skill Blind Justice, more concealment and better torpedo range there in row 2. So I like that a lot. Row 3, we went with Sponge, because we're not super fast. Row 4, Smoke on the water. The unique skill Torpedo Chaos here, maybe if we had better torpedoes, I would have used that, or if we had more of them. But we don't, so I really don't think you should use that at this tier. Just one man's opinion. Or for the ship, pardon me. Refill station, yeah. Fully packed, always an option, but I like refill station. Your mileage may vary on all that. Anyway, that's a ship that was a warehouse ship and an accommodation ship. I don't know why it's in this game under that name. But you would be asking me to explain Wargaming's decision-making, and I can't do that. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up.